The thrill of winning races at spectacular venues such as Saratoga Racecourse is no longer an exclusive privilege for the rich.
Fractional ownership is a way for anybody really to get involved in racehorse ownership.
Still, Gallo has to admit that this ownership seminar held at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame that ownership isn't exactly cheap.
Expenses in the horse business will run anywhere from $60,000 to $70,000 a year.
Cott Campbell of Dogwood Stable is widely recognized as the founding father of racehorse partnerships. And after nearly 50 years in the game, he still thinks it's a good way to buy 100% of the thrill at a fraction of the cost.
We've had a variety of partners from professional athletes to actors and actresses. One of the most famous was Mickey Rooney.
West Point Thoroughbreds has earned a reputation over the past few decades for being a straight shooting organization that works every day at making its partnerships successful.
The main goal for the partnership is to change lives.
Notice he didn't say making money, but partnerships can give you access beyond what Finley calls the velvet rope. It's your ticket to the exclusive saddling paddock and to that even more elusive location, the winner's circle.
They're amazed that they're 60 years old and they can be opened up and exposed to a brand new world. And I think that's a magic that no other sport at all in the world offers. And that's really the key, I believe, to building our owner base.
A West Point Thoroughbred may be owned by 5 to 15 people. Finley and his team select horses as 2-year-olds in training, yearlings, and even buy into older horses that have already demonstrated success at the graded stakes level. West Point does include NYBreds in their partnerships.
We have a lot of people, a lot of partners that are attracted to the program for 2 reasons. Because it's very well marketed, and the second, probably more importantly, is because there's a lot of money in NYBreds.
We do exclusively NYBreds.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Gallo says their advantage is they have roughly 800 opportunities a year to race exclusively against other NYBreds, instead of having to tackle the 20,000 or so horses born in other states.
Essentially the same amount of money at the same glorious racetracks like Belmont, Saratoga, and Aqueduct. Your competition is scaled down to 1,600 horses. So right there, in trying to manage risk or reduce risk variables for my owners, I'd rather start them with a NYBred and run for essentially the same amount of money against a much smaller group of horses. You have a much better chance of winning.
They're off.
On this day, the owners of Parting Glass Filly Alabama Bound watched her get bumped at the start of the race, but recover to finish a competitive third.
At 20-1.
Not the win the partnership hoped for, but third place money did bring the fillies' earnings up to above the 6-figure mark. We learned every horse partnership has its own way of doing things. Wind Horse Thoroughbreds offers homebreds from Middleburg, New York for fractional ownership. Other exhibitors, such as Kenwood Thoroughbreds, prefer to select their partnership horses regardless of what state they were foaled in. Kenwood partners like knowing they only pay once.
You can never be required, and I use the word never, not often, but I'm using it now, to pay anything more than that initial payment.
Seminars like this one may not result in a horse purchase, but the attendees did come away knowing a lot more about what goes into owning a racehorse.
Just looking for some information on how to get involved and to find out the details, but also to get some input on whether there's some aftercare happening for these horses as well after the racing careers are over.
Did you find that?
We did, yeah. I was really pleased, actually. I was concerned that no one would have an answer for me, but they did. It sounds like they're really thinking about those processes after the horses are done racing.
Yes. Every exhibitor at this Hall of Fame seminar had an aftercare plan in place. Partnerships share something else in common in understanding about what happens when someone buys into a horse.
Those are transactions, but this is love.
At the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, this is Tracy Egan for the New York Thoroughbred Breeding and Development Fund.